Welcome everyone to one of the oldest mysteries of America, Villisca Axe Murders. On this very quiet night in 1912, a home in Iowa became host to an unspeakable tragedy. A respected family and their dear guests brutally taken, leaving behind a trail of questions without an answer and a legacy of eerie whispers. Join me as we dig deeper into the layers of this haunting case. In the Moore household were Josiah, 43, his devoted wife Sarah, 39, and their 4 children. For that evening, they had in their warm home 2 dear guests, Ina May and Lena Gertrude Stillinger. The family had just come from a festive Children's Day program at the local Presbyterian church, which Sarah herself had organized. The little tight-knit community relished moments for connection and hope. As the evening wore on, the family and their young guests embarked on the brief walk homeward, never to know that their return would signal the last chapter in their lives. On this street, so well known, under the pale light of early street lamps, fate was to break into a world of peace. Sometime between midnight and 5 a.m., a horror unfolded within the walls of the Moore home. An unknown intruder wielding Josiah's own axe breached the sanctity of their bedrooms. In the master room, Josiah and Sarah were attacked in their sleep. The ferocity so complete that Josiah's face was unrecognizable and the ceiling bore scars of the brutal assault. The killer coolly, methodically went through the house. All 4 children lay in violent slumber, having been struck with the blunt side of the axe. The tragedy reached its climax in the guest room where the Stillinger sisters lay. Lena in a death struggle with a defensive wound on her arm, fighting to save her life. Everything from the use of the weapon down to the chronology of events carries with it the overtones of a well-thought-out, cold-blooded act. The comforting familiarities of home had been twisted into a stage for terror, leaving behind a trail of devastation that can still be heard over the years. With the first light of dawn came the discovery that shattered the town's innocence. Mary Peckham, a watchful neighbor, had noticed strange silence where daily chores once echoed. Investigating further, she alerted Josiah's brother, Ross Moore, who reluctantly unlocked the door to reveal the unthinkable horror inside. Within, investigators led by local peace officer Henry Horton began the arduous task of documenting a crime scene that defied comprehension. Clues were littered about, but in puzzling ways. 2 cigarettes had been smoked in the attic, for instance, and an almost figuratively significant gas lamp had been changed to offer only a dull light to signal that something lay hidden. Still more bizarre, a 4-pound piece of bacon lay across the murder weapon. The most bizarrely confusing of clues to those acquainted with the happening. Every mirror in that house was covered with a blanket or cloth. Many people fathomed it was done in order not to reflect the killer's identity. Each piece of evidence whispered its own story among the chaos that day, tucking them into a mystery that would face the investigators for years. Tragedy, it would seem, invites anarchy. In a very short time of discovering the bodies, an all-call alert put every Villisca resident on the scene. Other than preserving the dignity and sanctity of the evidence, what was once a contained scene was trampled over by onlookers, neighbors, peeping toms, and even a local druggist with a passion for photography. The ensuing melee resulted in the inadvertent destruction of crucial evidence. Articles that might have provided vital clues were handled by one and all. The morbid curiosity of the public itself transformed the scene into a messy mosaic. Still worse, some left with gruesome souvenirs of the tragedy. Evidence pivotal in nature got compromised and not only delayed but defeated investigation, leaving lots of what-ifs and lots of questions. Conflicting evidence and fragmented witness accounts led to the emergence of a number of suspects. Among them was the Reverend George Kelly, a traveling minister with quite a few bruises on his past. Kelly had erratic behavior. He had abruptly left town just before the murders. His hasty confession followed by a recantation resulted in his eventual acquittal, but left more questions than answers. Entered against them was local businessman and senator of Iowa, Frank F. Jones. Rumors claimed, due to a grudge he held against Josiah Moore, he had concocted this unthinkable thing. However, solid alibis and lack of concrete evidence eventually weakened this theory. Other names mentioned in speculation were Henry Lee Moore and William Mansfield, but none of them were ever linked with any semblance of proof to the crime. Beyond these human suspects, the legacy of the Villisca Axe Murders has grown to encompass that of the paranormal. In the decades since, the restored murder house has drawn ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, and curious tourists. Visitors report hearing unexplained sounds, feeling sudden chills and eerie apparitions. Some even claim to capture mysterious voices on electronic devices. An echo from beyond, perhaps. Yet within these modern myths, it is important to hold in one's mind the image of 8 brutalized lives taken in an instant. The scar on that small community against which time may never heal. The combination of human mystery and ghostly folklore has secured Villisca Axe Murders, a potent symbol of how tragedy rips through the physical world into our common psyche. As our exploration of the Villisca Axe Murders draws to a close, we are left with a tapestry of grief, mystery, and unanswered questions. The brutal end of the Moore family and the Stillinger sisters serves as a somber reminder of lives forever altered by an act of unfathomable cruelty. This is one of those cases in which the evidence was muddled in chaos, and theories intertwined with ghostly legends that continue to capture and haunt the collective conscience. The truth remains shrouded, buried under layers of speculation, time, and human frailty. I invite you all to reflect upon this mystery and give your point of view with comments down below. What do you think really happened that fateful night? Perhaps modern inquiries may one day look anew at these cold cases? Thanks for joining me on this journey into one of America's most haunting, unsolved mysteries. If you liked it, please subscribe and hit that notification bell for a deep dive into history's most puzzling cases. Until next time, may we never forget the human stories behind the legend.